Alright, before you come at me, I know tons of people think this movie sucks. I mean, it has a Rotten Tomato score of 14%, which speaks to people's feelings about it. Maybe it's my nostalgia blinding me, but I'm not really sure why people hate this movie so much. It's basic, sure, and the acting isn't great, although I do like Kiefer Sutherland. But the story is interesting, to me at least, and there are some genuine scares here. I watched this movie a lot when I was a little younger, and by that I mean like high school time for me. And at that time it honestly made me actually pretty scared to look at mirrors. That moment when you enter the bathroom at home and the mirror is just staring back at you, or when you're trying to leave and you accidentally turn the light off too quick, that's still really scary. Still don't really like that, and it's because of this movie. Recently I felt like rewatching Mirrors though, and while the scares are not nearly as bad as they were when I was younger, I did enjoy the movie still. Or at least I don't think it was as bad as the 14% it received on Rotten Tomatoes makes it sound. Before I share my thoughts though, as always, this is a recap, which means there will be spoilers. You've been warned. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a deeper look at Mirrors. Our story drops us right into the middle of the excitement. A middle-aged balding man wearing a security guard uniform is running down what I assume are subway tunnels, and he finds himself in a locker room. He's clearly running from someone or something, and we'll get to that later. Inside the room, every locker pops open, and the mirrors are suddenly facing him in every direction. I thought this scene was a great cinematic moment, not really matched in the rest of the movie in my opinion, but it did a really good job setting the scene. The man's looking at his reflection in the largest of the mirrors. He pleads with his reflection, moving to clean the mirrors even. He's basically begging them to save him. The reflection pretty much ignores him and picks up a giant piece of broken mirror and uses the shard to cut its own throat. At the same time as that's happening, the throat of the man begins to split open, and we kind of get a feeling for what our villain is going to be here. We're then introduced to our protagonist of the story, a man named Ben Carson, and not that Ben Carson. Ben was a cop or a detective, I'm not really sure. He basically did investigative stuff. I know he worked with law enforcement. They don't really go too much into his backstory, and it doesn't really hurt that they don't, I don't think. He was relieved of his position though, pending some special investigation into a shooting that he was involved with. I guess he killed a cop and the trauma is still affecting him. He's a recovering alcoholic as well, which presumably caused him and his wife to split up, all while this is happening with the shooting, so there's definitely a lot going on in his background. In the meantime, during this whole investigation process, Ben works as an overnight security guard at an abandoned luxury shopping mall called Mayflower, which is now owned by the Meredith family. The mall burned down years ago, and the security team patrols the remains throughout the night to keep vandals and other squatters away. On Ben's first night walking through the mall, he's struck by the amount of mirrors in the mall and how well they're maintained. The head security guard mentions the fact that the last security guard had an obsession with them and spent most of the nights cleaning them, and that security guard is dead now. I guess you can make the connection here that he's the guy we saw earlier. Ben does his rounds and notices these handprints all over the mirrors though, and he touches one of them and it cuts his hand. After cutting his hand, the mirrors now show Ben these visions. His reflection catches fire at one point and the flames engulf him and he's screaming in this really visceral moment. And he's dropping on the ground screaming in too, even though it's just his reflection that's burning. The nightmare ends abruptly though, and it leaves him shaken up. He's starting to know that something weird here is going on. He continues exploring and he happens upon a wallet. It belongs to a man named Gary Lewis, who was the security guard before him, the one they mentioned that died. He's the same man we saw cutting his throat in the opening scenes. Inside the wallet, Ben finds a ripped sheet of paper that has one word scribbled on it. It reads Essiker, and he saves the note. That name will become really important later. Another night, Ben is patrolling the mall. He does a lot of patrolling in this movie, you just have to bear with me. He finds this fitting room where he sees a reflection of a burned woman's arm coming out of the stalls in this mirror. He turns to look and see if it's there, and of course it isn't. He drags the mirror closer in what I think is a pretty brave moment I would never do, and he reveals this ghastly figure of a burned woman writhing in the dressing room stall. And honestly, like the beginning scene, I thought this was another great scene in the movie. It actually surprised me. It would have been easy here to have a jump scare or something jump out at you, but it doesn't do that. Instead, the threat is present the entire time. In fact, it shows you the threat. And it even pulls the mirror closer and shows it to you in the mirror, but the tension builds in such a great way that I found it frightening. And there's only a few scenes like this in the movie, but they really stick out. Back at home, Ben's son Michael wakes up screaming. His wife Amy comes to calm him down. The boy says he saw a monster in the mirror. Basically, the movie here is showing us that the mirrors are reaching out to his family. Ben's staying with his sister, and he's starting to see things in his mirror as well. The only problem that we have here is that he's on these special medications that help him with his drinking problem. This medication can cause hallucinations though, so he can't really trust his own senses in these scenes, and he tries to tell people about them and they kind of just blame it on his medication. While back at home, he receives a package from Gary, that security guard from earlier. And he thinks this is strange, since he's dead now. Inside the envelope is a bunch of papers about the burning of the mall, and there's one man's name on them. I guess he confessed to the burning. His name is Terrence Berry. Ben is growing more and more concerned with the mirrors at this point, and to gain a better understanding, he wants to go see Gary's body, since, he sent him a package in the afterlife. And lucky for Ben, his wife works at the coroner's. Ben goes to see her at her work, and mind you, remember, they're separated at this point, so she's more than a little concerned about it. He shows up unannounced, which he did earlier in the movie to see his kids, so she's kind of getting more and more nervous around him because he's acting erratic and is a little more frantic lately. He tells her that he received this mysterious package from her, and he tells her that he's investigating the burning of the mall and what really happened there. I think she knows that he's, trying to work through his problems, so she relents, and she lets him see the body. I think this is a huge ethical violation, obviously. I don't even know if she's legally allowed to do this. While he's looking, though, he's surprised by the reflection of the corpse in the stainless steel, and he screams and falls back and just adds to the whole sense of his, falling apart. She gets even more upset at him, and basically she forces him to leave. Later that night, we're showing Ben's sister in the bathroom, and this is where things get gruesome, so, just a warning. She's looking at herself in the mirror, and I think this is the scene most people think of when they think of this movie, or at least I hope it is. It's pretty graphic. She's looking at herself in the mirror, and she leaves to go get in the bathtub, but her reflection remains standing there. And this entity, I don't know if it's like a demon or ghost or something, the thing that's in the mirrors it basically puts its hands in its mouth and rips its mouth open, and it keeps pulling and pulling and pulling until it eventually rips the jaw off completely. As the reflection does this, the same thing is happening to Ben's sister in the bathtub. You see her jaw just keep ripping off and off and off, and she's confused, and it's this struggle, and there's just blood everywhere, and obviously she dies from this. It's pretty traumatic. It really illustrates the threat of the creature in the mirror and how it can reach a victim at any point, I think, which is the scary bit I was talking about when you see yourself in a mirror and you walk away, but I guess you question yourself, does it walk away? And that's that really interesting moment I think this movie offers. And it's not the only movie that does that, but I think it does a good job. Ben does see her body. He's coming home when they're investigating it, and he starts to panic. He knows what has happened. He needs answers, and he goes to the health center where the accused Terrence Berry was kept. He was that man that was accused of burning the mall earlier on. But Berry's dead at this point. But they do show him a video of him in some interrogation, and it's him just saying what happened to him. I guess the mirrors reached out to Berry's family and started killing them off one by one. And he says it's because he couldn't find Essaker, that same name that, Ben found on that piece of paper that Gary was holding earlier. So Ben knows what's happening by now. He knows that it's going to keep reaching out and killing his family unless he finds this person named Essaker. So he goes back to the mall and he tries to shoot the mirrors. He's basically trying to negotiate with them and say what do they want from him. Even with each shot, the mirrors really heal themselves. He runs home to his kids and he begins painting all the mirrors to cover them up. He's scaring the kids, and Amy shows up one last time to confront him. She kicks him out, and he tries to show her, though, what's happening. He's trying to reach out to her. He shoots the mirrors that he put outside on the sidewalk. He's trying to show her that they're going to fix themselves, but of course they don't, and it makes him look even more detached. And it's like he's having a full-blown breakdown at this point. He again returns to the Mayflower, but this time he finds part of a wall with a sign on it that says psychiatric ward. He breaks down the wall and reveals a small pathway. Behind the wall there's this hidden room. It's a small and circular room where every surface is covered in mirrors. At the center of the room is a small metal chair with straps on it. Clearly someone was strapped to the chair and forced to confront their own reflection. Ben's investigator friend, I didn't mention him too much earlier, but he's been doing investigations in the background, looking for this person named Essaker. Well, he does find that there used to be a hospital in the mall, and there was this 12-year-old girl named Anna Essaker that was being treated by a Dr. Kane. The girls that Kane was treating with mirrors, they all went mad and they killed each other. It was kind of a massacre. Dr. Kane had been using these mirrors to treat some of the girls, and one of the girls was Anna Essaker. And inside Anna Essaker, she had something in her. I guess she was possessed, and while she was being treated with these mirrors, the creature escaped into the mirrors. And we actually find out that Anna Essaker is still alive later. She's now living in some convent, and Ben goes to Pennsylvania to confront her and bring her back. She refuses to leave, though. While this is going on, Amy sees her son's reflection stay behind when he moves. So she actually is aware now that the mirrors are something more, like Ben has been saying. So she gets scared, and she's starting to believe in the mirrors too. Time's running out for Ben's family, basically. Now back at St. Augustine, where Anna Essaker is, she says that she can't go back, though, because she'll be acting as a bridge to bring the entity back into the physical world. Ben ain't having none of that, though, and he pulls a gun and basically forces her to leave with him. He's going to save his family. Ben's family is now fully under attack by the creature, entity, demon thing. It attacks his younger daughter Daisy, taking the form of Amy, and trying to stab her with a pair of scissors. Michael's turned on all the taps and flooded the house, and while Amy is searching for him, he's pulled under the floor, in the water. Basically, he disappears. Amy fights to recover him, but she can't really find him. Ben brings Anna back to the mirrored room, and she chooses to sit in the chair. Immediately, the walls begin to crawl as faces and hands push through the mirrors. She's possessed once again, and the creature rips free from the chair and leaps to the ceiling. It begins attacking Ben. Ben runs from the creature fighting back in the sewers. He's pinned against the wall at one point by the demon, and he manages to grasp the woman's body, and he basically shoves her back and, stabs a pipe through her that's jutting from the wall. At this point, his family's safe. I guess presumably the demon's been defeated. But the building begins to collapse. He races to escape and makes it out just in the nick of time, it seems. But in the outside world where he's escaped, it's not really what he was expecting. Everything is reversed here. The police car riding and their badges, everything that he sees is in reverse. And nobody could really see him. He can't interact with anybody. So he continues to explore, and he touches the surface of a nearby shop window. And the camera kind of pans, and now we're back into the real world, and we see a handprint similar to the ones he saw in the mirrors earlier. So I guess it's implying that he's now stuck in the mirror world. It's a pretty decent twist, but I'll get to why I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it's got good shock value, but I think it kind of undermines the theme that the movie's going for, at least how I interpreted it. The movie Mirrors is honestly one of my guilty pleasures when it comes to horror movies. Does it have some poor acting? Yes. Does it have a basic story? Sure. But even with all that being true, it's still one of my favorites. I think part of it is just that I really like Kiefer Sutherland. I was a fan of 24 back in the day, even though it's problematic now, I'm aware. And his role as Ben is just him playing Jack Bauer, but now against a demon instead of terrorists. Aside from Kiefer Sutherland, though, I also enjoyed the themes. There's clearly a theme of trauma in the movie, and how we confront it. I think I interpret the movie as a man struggling with trauma and depression. He's lashing out because he feels lost and overwhelmed. He pushes everyone away that he loves. The mirrors force him to literally confront himself and his trauma. For Ben, that meant reestablishing his identity as an investigator, which was slowly slipping through his fingers when he killed a fellow cop. He needed to solve a mystery of Anna Essaker to save his family and prove to himself that he still could. He also needed to confront himself and his own demons, like I said, literally. He had to stop his drinking and take on the beast hidden in the mirror. I think the ending is where things fall apart, like I mentioned. Don't get me wrong, I like the twist, but I think it implies that Ben dies in the building collapse, which is what forced him in the mirror world. And taking the theme into account, I don't like what that implies. I mean, sometimes fighting our demons isn't enough. We still succumb to it. But I would have liked to see a positive message here. That if we confront our trauma, we can defeat it, especially if we work with those we love. But instead, what we get here is him trying to confront his trauma, and instead, he still gets defeated by it, and he doesn't really get that resolution. With all that being said, though, I think Mirrors is both scary and bloody. And those are the two measures I use here. I think there are some tense moments, and I still don't like staring at myself in a mirror because of this movie. Because of that, I give Mirrors a 3 on the scary meter. It's scary, but not too scary for most people, I think. As far as blood, though, this movie's got plenty, at least in that one scene. I'm specifically talking about that bathtub scene. Given this, I give Mirrors a 4 on the bloody meter. That puts Mirrors in the bloody terrifying category. We don't see that often on this channel. Mirrors is not a new movie by any means, so you shouldn't have any hard time finding it. I watched it on HBO, at least right now, if you want to check it out. Now, who knows when that'll change. Well, I've said my bit about the movie Mirrors. Let me know yours in the comments below. And thank you all for watching these bite-sized recaps. See you all in the next story.